Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, morning. Well, there is a subject that has really piqued my interest, and I have gotten a lot of calls, a lot of requests for me to do a conversation regarding this subject. And I want you to pay attention tonight because it's very interesting, it's very important, and I want you to listen. I want you to share it so that others can know um, and to benefit from this information. And so the subject tonight is how to raise an immigrant child in the Western world. How to raise a child that was now born in, let's say, Europe or Switzerland, it's part of the Europe, but Canada, US, Australia. How to raise your children. If your kids were not born in these countries and you move there and you want to raise them in a proper way, how to do so. Maybe the kids were born in that country, for instance, Canada or the US, and you as a parent, you were born overseas. Let's say you're born in Nigeria, or you're born in Zambia or Mozambique, for example. And now you find yourself, let's say, in Saskatchewan, Canada, Saskatchewan, and you would like to know, how to raise your kids. There are a lot of questions. There are a lot of challenges. There are a lot of things that we miss out on as parents because we're not born and raised here. So there are a lot of the structures within a school system that we're not aware of. And so to raise your children here in developed country or in the Western world can be a real challenge for parents. Let me give you an example. When I was growing up in school, my parents gave me backpack, or let's say a book bag. We used to call it book bag. And then we just went to school and they gave us recess. Here in the West, you don't give the kids recess, but you have to see what they bring home from school. You have to sign them up for a summer program. You have to log them in on a computer for lunch or lunches. You have to take them to the basketball game, to the soccer game. Here's more involved. And sometimes it can be overwhelming if you are an immigrant or first generation or somebody new to the country. It can be a little overwhelming because you are not wired for this engagement. Okay, so how do you raise children in this culture? Another example is that back home, when I mean back home is Africa, the motherland. Back home, what is Togo or what's it called? Benin or Kenya or Tanzania. Back home, our kids would stay with the uncles or stay with grandma or grandpa, and it was okay. When you go to the market to shop, the kids stay with the closest relative. They are safe. They go out. They come back. Kids are pretty safe. So we just leave our kids with relatives and go and come back. Here you can't do that. You can't just leave kids home and go places. You just can't do that. So you have to be with the kids at all times. If not you, the other person, the other spouse, or other family member. So this can be a stressful experience for parents, and then raising them, providing structure for them to learn, affirming their strengths can become a challenge. So how do we raise our children? How do we produce great kids in the Western world for immigrants? Before I begin, I want us to establish that immigrants have a lot of barriers. One of the barriers we have is language. Okay, some immigrants speak French, some speak Swahili, some speak Arabic. Okay, some speak Igbo. Okay, they speak Hausa. They speak different languages. So Africa has what, about 1,000 languages. So how do you work on a kid who was brought up in an environment where English was not the primary language, and there were some different cultural norms, and how do you bring them here and make them to be successful? That is $1 million question, right? Now, we know that it is a very hard job. It is a very difficult question to answer, but we've tried to break it down for you and simplify it and try to kind of process it. Now, first thing is, number one, we have to be involved. We have to be involved in our kids' life. Not just their life, but their school. Their school, we have to be involved in their school. We have to go to PTA meeting. We have to go to those things. I was speaking with a community leader in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, a very good friend of mine. I've been knowing for a very long time, Mr. Ewa. So he says that what he did was that he was actually involved in the lives of his children at school. That means he attended PTA meetings. That means he was at the basketball court. That means he was at the baseball court. That means he was traveling with them on the road to their meetings and functions. So that's one thing we need to do. Those kids came out to be very great. They all have six-figure jobs. They all graduated from college. They are doing well in South Dakota. A good friend of mine, I'm not going to call his name for confidentiality, but I was with him a couple months ago, and he was telling me, and we're discussing the challenges that new immigrants or new Americans face adjusting to the culture here, and the challenges of culture shock, language barrier, social barriers, being bullied in school, calling names like, some of the kids, you hear bad things like, you're this, your daddy from Africa. Let's be frank, Africa does not have a good image in the mindset of elementary schools in America. When people talk about Africa in elementary schools in America, they talk about monkeys, they talk about fence, they talk about giraffe. That's the only thing people comes to mind when people talk about Africa in elementary school in America. It's just giraffe and monkeys and safari and people maybe living in the butchers. So most of the time our kids struggle with affirming their identity, at the same time dealing with the reality of what is being projected on them in the classroom, such as maybe nothing pretty is in Africa, nothing good is in Africa, nothing beautiful. I was reading an article some time ago, and this young lady was talking to a friend, a male friend, and the male friend said that he went to, I think, Russia, he went to Great Britain, he went to other places for sightseeing, for vacation. And the young lady said, but have you gone to Africa to visit? I think it was Kenya. And then the man said, and I quote, what is there to see? He said, this is the mindset of many people. People may not admit it, but people don't think that where most immigrants come from is beautiful, that it has art, that it has museum, that it has culture, that it has history, that it has intelligence, that it has skyscrapers, that it has gardens, that it has beaches, that it has universities. People don't really believe these things exist there, especially where people come from. For that reason, that is also a transfer to the classroom, especially for teachers who are not really exposed. Most of them don't paint the origins of immigrants in a very positive light, especially Africa. Let me speak of Africa in a very positive light. So our children are always trying to find their identity and seeing where they fit. They want to be identified with where they came from, where they were born, or where their parents came from, because they're still struggling with their English, still struggling adapting to the culture here. But then they cannot really accept that where they come from because it's been labeled as not too advanced, it's a little inferior. And so the identity crisis starts with our kids. The identity crisis starts. They don't know who they are. So now they're looking for something that can affirm them to be somebody, to be maybe good, tough, bad, whatever that is. Okay? So now you have bad things like gangs and drugs and you name it. So it's a place that our kids need us to be involved. So number one, we have to be involved in our kids' life. It's kind of hard if you have to build your mansion back home and maybe you come here, you got to go to school, you're working 2 jobs to take care of grandma and grandpa and doing all these projects. It's kind of hard to really be involved in the children's life because being involved in the children in their life is a full-time job. That is checking their homework, checking what they're doing on the computer, the tablets, seeing who they talk to, going with them to some of their friends' birthday events, staying with them for their teaching lesson, a swimming lesson, for example. There's a lot that needs to be done. And guess what? You're not getting paid for that. It's just an investment into the life of your child, which is worth more than money. But what I'm trying to say is that if you are working, if you have, you have a job, you have to go there, it becomes a serious decision-making process. Do you take this full-time job that doesn't allow you to be involved in your child? Do you take this overtime that doesn't allow you to be involved in your child? Or do you take lesser pay and part-time job to be involved in your child's life? How do you pay the bills? How do you even meet other familiar commitments? So that's the big challenge there for immigrant parents. So the number one thing to do to raise a successful immigrant child is to be involved. I can't say that many times enough. Be involved. Number 2, affirm their strength. So while these kids are mumbling and jumbling and trying to find their identity and see where they fit, you have to affirm their strength. You have to see what they are good at. They may not be good at everything, but what they are good at, you have to find it and affirm it that it is okay to be good at this specific thing and encourage them to do well, whether it's basketball, whether it's academics. Academics comes first, okay? We want to emphasize on the academics, okay? So what is geography or science or reading, whatever the kid is good at, you want to emphasize to them that this is something good and they need to invest in it, invest time in it, and encourage them to invest time in it. Sometimes it could be phonics, okay? When you do phonics at a very primal level, right, at an elementary level, and understand it, you can pronounce and spell any word at a very young age. You will have no struggle spelling difficult words or pronouncing difficult words because you master the art of phonics. Okay? So if the person is good at phonics, develop it. Develop their speaking skills. Affirm it. Some people are very eloquent. Naturally, they are eloquent. Some people have musical skills. Some people have good memory. Some people are visual learners. Some people are abstract learners. Okay. So So go ahead and affirm that which they're good at. It's going to go a long way. So they are holding on to something that they are good at, something that they are unique at, or they are special. They're not special in the sense of special ed, but something that is their niche. It's something that they're good at. You know, my son came from school the other day, and he told me that he was good at spelling, and I said, put some time in it. And before he knew it, his friends were checking him out to check their words and stuff. That was affirmed, that made him feel like, okay, I'm doing something. I'm contributing something. I am part of the learning process. But not only part of the learning process, I am good at this one. You see, so that's one thing. A second thing we have to do, we have to affirm their strength. Their weaknesses are there. Okay? But let's focus on their strength. If you give them a reason to run, they'll run. Okay? Give them a reason to run. Find what they're good at and push them. Number 3, let them participate in group activities. So what does that mean? That means don't just have an immigrant kid and then just have them to themselves, only around other immigrant kids. That's not a way to really be culturally sensitive and be inclusive. So you want them to participate in group activities that encourages diversity, that encourages their friends from different backgrounds, those that were born here, to encourage them to participate, share ideas, understand, and let them participate. They shouldn't build their own bubble around themselves, all because they speak Yoruba, or they speak Masa, or they speak Igbo. They should engage. They should be willing to learn from different cultural perspective. For example, years ago, I participated in the St. Patrick Irish festival. St. Patrick's Day, I believe that's what it's called. I'm not Irish, obviously. I know there are black Irish, but I'm not Irish. But I participated in St. Patrick's, which is an Irish celebration for that effect, because I wanted to learn different culture. I wanted to understand and to enjoy and to participate in what it means to have a St. Patrick's Day, and the meaning and the emphasis and the strength and the everything that comes with St. Patrick's Day. Some people go to the bars and get drunk and get wasted, and some people do some strange things. I don't have to do all of that, but at least I am recognizing that culture. I'm recognizing that celebration. I'm recognizing something that is unique to my friends, my co-workers, and it was fun. So that's one of the things you want to do for your kids. You want them to get engaged, get involved, participate in Native American culture festivities, participate in, like I said, Irish stuff. And there are a lot of cultures out there. Participate in different cultures that are within the community, within the classroom. Those kind of thoughts that will help to raise an immigrant kid to be somebody that is prepared to face the challenges of the world. So, those are 3 points there. What do you watch when you're raising an immigrant kid? What are the red flags? Okay, so when you're raising an immigrant kid, if you are a single mom or a single dad or you're a couple living together, these are things you got to pay attention to. Red flags. If the child is 6, 7, 8 years old, watch this. If the child is 9, 10, 11 years old, watch this. If the child is 13, 14, 15, watch this. First thing that you got to watch as red flag is isolation. They like to be by themselves. What are they doing by themselves? Are they on the tablet? Are they on the internet? Are they on a computer? Who are they talking to? Or are they having some mental stress from school or some bad thoughts going through their head? Bullying is a problem in the Western countries, and most kids get bullied. Immigrant kids get bullied the most, I believe, because there are a lot of barriers, a lot of visible difference. One, most of them are colored people. Two, they have an accent. Three, they're not socially grown yet. So there's a lot of reason why people want to pick on the strange guy, right? It's normal, right? The new guy, the strange guy, right? So you want to watch isolation. When a kid is by himself for a very long time, somebody say an idle mind is the workshop of the devil.